The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, welcome everyone to the Permanent Supportive Housing Services for Families in Transition RFP Reviewer Training. Today, because we have such a cozy group of people, I think we will let you ask questions as we go, so feel free to interrupt me and ask questions. So this is just briefly what we're going to go over. We'll talk about the RFP and the FIT program and general introductions to the FIT program. We'll talk about reviewer responsibilities, the details of Cybergrants, the timeline, and then we'll have an opportunity at the end for you guys to ask some more questions. So let's talk about the Permanent Supportive Housing Services for FIT. So the applications for this RFP must align with the Permanent Supportive Housing Program Model, which can be found in the COC's Program Models chart. It's on page 6 of the Program Models chart. The RFP provides funding for case management and intensive support services, and that's it. So if we have an RFP that is applying for or asking for money for some other kind of service, then that does not qualify under this RFP. So just so that you guys know how this program will work, this RFP is for the case management, and then the Chicago Low Income Housing Trust Fund is providing 100 subsidies for housing. The Families in Transition part of this RFP is designed to connect families with children enrolled in CPS's students in temporary living situations with permanent housing. So the 100 subsidies that we have are to go towards the families of these students in the STLS program. There are 6 for this first part of FIT, where we chose 6 elementary schools, and they were selected to target families in the most at-risk communities. This project is a collaboration among DFSS, Homework, CPS, CSH, CCH, and the Trust Fund. The funds for this come from the City of Chicago's surcharge on housing sharing. A lot of people call this money the Airbnb money. Families, and like what makes this special, since we're using that money, is that families can be in shelter or in doubled up situations. So that's a little different than usual. Many families meeting STLS eligibility in these schools may be assessed. Any family meeting STLS eligibility in these schools may be assessed. Families will be prioritized for housing based on vulnerability index score via the Coordinated Entry System Standardized Assessment Tool. The next slide. So this has been a bit of a confusion with our RFP because the term is from August 1st, 2017 to December 31st, 2018. That is longer than our standard RFP, so there's been a lot of questions about that. We asked our applicants to submit a 12-month budget, so that's what you want to look for when you're reviewing the RFPs. But they can, for the work program, we have said that they could, since we didn't give them any guidance for the work program, we would accept a 15-month work program or a 12-month work program. And just like any other project, these are based on the availability of funds and design and contractor performance. DFSS may extend the term for up to 2 additional periods, each period not to exceed a year. So regarding the budget process, to give you a little background so that you know why we picked a 12-month budget, we wanted to see how they would run their program over a year. But when they go into contract after they have been accepted as our provider, initially the agencies will submit a prorated budget for August to December, and then they will submit a 12-month budget for December through January 2018, just so you have some background on how we plan on doing this going forward. So another thing that you need to know about this RFP, if you haven't been familiar with the process so far, is we have 2 addendums to the RFP. So when you are reading through these proposals, you have to not only look at the proposal, but these 2 addendums. Well, really only the first addendum. We did a clarification of funding amount on the first addendum, and switch the slide. We had incorrect performance measures in the original RFP, and the addendum has the correct performance measures. So when you review these proposals, make sure that you are judging them from these performance measures. and I will make sure that you have access to the original RFP and both addendums. The second addendum just changed the date, so it's not really as critical for your process. You can go to the next slide. Reviewers' responsibilities.
Sure.
This is Adriana. She's going to fill you in on this part.
Hi. First of all, thank you if you've agreed to review our RFPs. We don't like to call you all victims, but this process is a little bit arduous and a little cumbersome for most, but we try to streamline it as much as possible. So all of the reviews will take place online in the Cybergrants system at cybergrants.com. If you don't already have one, will receive a user ID and password from the lovely Julia Talbot from our department, who is here. And at the end of the slide, she'll talk a little bit about the Cybergrants system. You'll have a dashboard where you'll receive the however many of RFPs that you've been courteous enough to agree to review. If you haven't already, you need to also read and sign the certification in regards to conflict of interest and deliver those back, either electronically by fax or whatever, to Carrie. We ask that you review the assigned applications. You'll probably, each reviewer may only get a maximum of 4 to review. And going back to Carrie's first slide, there really is only one program type under this RFP, so there will be not a lot of flipping back and forth as to what the performance requirements are. They're all for permanent supportive housing, and all of the applications will be requesting dollars for services, so you'll primarily be looking at budgets that go over personnel costs or some costs associated with delivering services to the clients. Most of the housing subsidy, all of the housing subsidy will come from the low-income trust fund units, so you won't be looking at any operational expenses. We ask that you review the applications in accordance with the guidelines that we are going to give you in a spreadsheet that goes through each portion of the application and give you some sort of clarification on how many points to assign to each item. It will give you some idea of what we rank as more important in the applications than others. For example, agency capacity or, this is the breakdown of the applications. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
No, it's okay.
For you.
If you're excited.
Sure. So we've assigned predominantly the most to the program design and administration, which is 35 points. Another 25 points will go to how reasonable the budget cost is. This application, we've already given most agencies an idea that every family has a limit of $7,500 per family, up to 100 families. So you should be seeing narrative that goes along with that guideline. And then organizational capacity is 25 points. That could be the staff experience, the agency experience, and their fiscal capacity. And then it's 15 points, again, to the budget. That was overall completeness, but okay. 15 points to how reasonable their budget is. So we can go back to the previous slide.
Sorry.
Okay. In the online system, you'll be asked to assign those points to all of those criteria, as well as give the written comments. Written comments are the strengths of the application, the weakness of the application, and general comments. We ask that you at least provide 2 to 3 full sentences for each those 3 areas, so that we can determine why you scored it the way you did. You can go ahead as you're reviewing applications and write down little notes to yourself about what you thought was great in the application, what you thought was weak in the application, and provide those comments for us. Those are really critical for us, as well as the ranking. Sometimes the written comments give us more an inclination of why you scored it the way you did than the points. And then I'm going to hand it over to Julia now, because she can talk to you about Cybergrants assignment and how to submit as well. More?
Did you go too far?
No, I'm just going to give Julia a few minutes to talk about the Cybergrants.
Hi, this is Julia Talbot. You can, as it says here on the Cybergrants Overview slide, you can log in at this, what will happen, let me think about this.
is you're going to get a login, and the password is always going to be set as welcome1, capital W, welcome, number 1. And the login is usually, but not always, usually the capital letter of your first letter of your first name, capital first letter of your last name, followed by the rest of your last name. So, for instance, Adriana's login is capital A, capital C, and then little letters the rest of her last name, which I will not spell correctly. So just remember, now your login is not going to be Adriana's. It's going to be your own name and your own last name. And if you have a very common name, it might have a 2 or something like that. But anyway, so just as a general guideline, that's what your login is going to be. We'll assign every grant or every application is read twice, so you will be paired. Somebody else will also be reading your application. If there's more than a 20-point spread, and actually a third reader will read the application you're scoring, just so that you have that as an overview. Sometimes you will get an email that says what has been assigned to you, but oftentimes you will not, because it will go into your spam or junk folder. But Carrie or I will send you something saying like, hey, the applications have been assigned, and you can log in and see the application. When you go to the cybergrants.com website, you will see something that says login on the upper right-hand side of the screen, and you'll hit on that. It will take you to another screen where you actually do the logging in, and after that, you'll see the Cybergrants screen itself. There will be 2 tabs, one which I believe says main and the other that says dashboard. You can often access everything from either of those places, or you just can toggle between one, and you should see the applications that you have been assigned. If it seems that like, hey, you're supposed to be reading 4, but all of a sudden there's like 15 things in there, give me a call, because sometimes there are errors. If you've read before, sometimes there are things in there that haven't been cleared out, or I can show you how to clear them out. If you go in there and nothing is showing up, I can show you how there are a couple of little tricks, but most of the time, 95% of the time, you'll go in and you'll see these things. Everything in blue is something that you can click on that will lead you to something else in Cybergrants. So if you need to look at, board lists, and you want to look at their audit, and you want to look at the organization that you're evaluating, kind of background information, if you click on the blue highlighted name of the organization, it will take you to all of that information. If you want to look at the actual application, you can click on, sometimes it's it's highlighted as it's a blue highlight of like the how much they're applying for, or it will just say 0s, and you click on that, and that will open the application for you. When you open the application, there's a blue bar, and on the right-hand side of that blue bar at the top, you'll see a little icon that says PDF and another little icon that says Word. If you can save the applications as either a PDF or a Word. I recommend PDF because that way you won't, I always go in and then I end up deleting something or whatever. It's a PDF, that's not going to happen. When you do that, it's a good way to, I think that it's an easier view to read the applications themselves, but you can do it on the screen, and you can just sort of toggle through those text boxes. The one thing it will show when you do it as a Word doc, or you transfer the application into a Word doc or PDF format, it will show you the attachments. It will not open those attachments. You have to go back in and open them, because those attachments are downloaded. They're attachments, so you have to download them and open them just the way you would have to download and open any other attachments. And so when you go in going in and PDFing or downloading the application as a Word doc isn't going to give you the complete application. you have to go in and you have to open all of their attachments up individually and review those as well. And those attachments will include kind of important things like the budget and, you know, org charts. Sometimes with you guys, I don't think, did you guys have, what were those?
Yes.
The facility assessment.
Still have facility assessment.
So that is that. There's a little file icon also what's on the screen that will save your work. So if you're midway through filling out your comments and you have to go somewhere or do something, if you hit the save button, it will save your work. And then the last thing is submitting, which you will do by scrolling down to the bottom of the application, or your evaluation rather, and it will say the very, you know, logical, I think it says like submit input or something. That says record input. Yeah, record input, thank you. So yeah, which I don't think of, like Cybergrants is pretty intuitive. I don't know why they went with the record input, because that doesn't really resonate with many people. But anyway, that's how you submit. Now, word of advice, once you submit or you record input, your evaluation is gone. And for me to turn it, I can send it back to you, but it deletes out everybody else's evaluation and your own. So don't record input unless you're really ready to. And if you do record input as a mistake, or you are like, oh my gosh, I didn't put X, Y, or Z in, if nobody has done the evaluation, it's not a problem for me to throw it back to you, although you'll have to re-enter everything that you already put in. And I can send you a screenshot and stuff of what you did. But it does reset the system. It's not easy for me to just throw your application back to you. And if it's not, sometimes what will happen is, you know, you'll say, oh, I forgot to say X, Y, or Z, and then we'll just put those comments into the next level. So that's, you know, I guess my point is that it's something worth avoiding, but if it happens, it happens, and we have plenty of workarounds. If you have other problems, I just say email me or call me, or you can ask, Cindy Rivera actually is really pretty helpful and good at Cybergrants as well. She might be able to answer some of your questions. And then if it's something really hairy, we'll go, you know, we can kick it up to the support at Cybergrants or to OBM. But most of the time with evaluators, I find that the problems that they're having, I can solve, and I actually respond usually quicker than 24 hours. So I would say just call me or email me first. And I think my phone number is it on the slide? I can include it in an email. Okay. Your information. Yeah, it's pretty easy to get a hold of me. And if you don't, you know, just ask Adriana or Carrie. They know how to get a hold of me.
I do want to let everyone know that we haven't set up the evaluation yet. So if you go to Cybergrants, your login won't work quite yet. So
right.
I'll send out an email with all the background information you need and everyone's contact information, and letting you know that it's up and ready for you to sign in to review applications.
At this time, is there anybody that has a question that's online on the telephone? If you haven't muted yourself, we should be able to hear you.
I'd have to unmute them.
Oh.
So if they raise.
Or if you can raise your hand and type it in the chat box.
Or type in the chat box, yeah.
Okay. And then if we could go back to slide 9.
Nice. So Adriana has developed a very impressive scoring tool for us to use on this evaluation. So I would just want to give you the basics of that tool, and I will send that out in an email later on today, or maybe when we know for sure that the evaluation is up and you guys can get started.
Yeah, my hand raised.
Oh.
Let me try unmuting this.
All right, Susan, we're going to try and unmute you so you can ask your question.
Hello?
Hi, Susan.
Hi. Oh, thank goodness. Hi. Sorry, guys. I had a hard time trying to get on. So one, I wanted you to know I'm here. And you probably said in the beginning, we're going to get copies of all these PowerPoint.
Yes. And the webinar will be available on the internet, so you can rewatch any part if you want to.
Oh, God. It sounds so exciting. Okay, I will. Thank you. That was a joke. Yes, I was kidding. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so an evaluation tool is based on the application questions, and then the application questions like that are standard with the City of Chicago, and the questions that the Homeless Division has added on top. The guided questions are to emphasize DFSS priorities, assist in awarding points, and provide objective scoring among all reviewers. Okay, so, and then we ask, like, there's a certain number of points available for each aspect of the evaluation scoring tool, and we would like you to stick within that points range. It helps us get more similar reviews across all reviewers. So if something is worth 2 points, please don't give it more than 2 points. So then let's go into more detail about what this evaluation tool will look like. It comes just as a spreadsheet, and there are some columns in it, and the columns are standard questions. These come from the City of Chicago. There's the DFS Homeless Edition. These are the questions that the applicants saw that they answered that came straight from the Homeless Division. There's an evaluation question. This is what we're asking you to think about regarding their responses. And then there's Evaluator guidance, which tells you how many points are possible for each category topic that we're looking for. And then there's a column for possible points. So you can use this tool and like mark one up for each review if that's what works for you. I think part of reviewing grants is just kind of figuring out what process works for you. You can go to the next slide. Responsiveness. This is very important. We ask that applicants provide direct and complete responses to all questions. So if an applicant has skipped a question, they don't get points for their response. So if they have left something blank or totally skipped it, they get no points for it in that category. And all the required attachments must be complete and in order to receive points for responsiveness. So if they forgot something, then they do get marked down for that. I want to go through some of our specific guidance for this program for the permanent supportive housing for FIT. Because all of our applicants are submitting in one category, we could go into more detail about exactly what we're looking for. So I will go through the one with the most point value is the proposed program. So we will ask applicants may not add criteria to the target population. This means that they have to take everyone who is recommended to them or referred to them through the CES process. So they can't add on a criteria that they only work with a certain type of person or a certain family of a certain size. And if they have done that, they do not get points for that particular category. So we do want them to specify which community they will be serving and how that is connected to one of the 6 schools that are in the FIT program. We want them to talk about their coordination with the STLS liaisons and CPS. We ask that they fill out their program requirements and that they align with the Continuum of Care program models chart, and that the performance measures reflect the program requirements. That's very important, and that refers to that addendum that I showed you earlier. We hope that they address client diversity, confidentiality, and grievances, and they connect clients to other supportive services. So they're not just adding what they add, but they're adding value by connecting them to additional supportive services. We also, and then community leverage. So we want them to provide linkages that complement or expand services to the program, to what the program is able to provide. The linkages should have measurable impact and remove barriers to housing retention. And we want them to offer strategies to develop additional partnerships with other service providers. For program monitoring, this one is heavy on HMIS implementation, HMIS trained staff, and we want you to check, we'll send you a spreadsheet of whether or not, if we've worked with the agency before, if they're compliant in HMIS, and they get points for that. And then we have an evaluation strategy. So we want to know, how does their data monitoring, how is it used, and how do they use it to improve their service delivery? For agency capacity, we want to know, what is their experience at providing case management and intensive support services, and we're looking for letters of support. This one can be a little bit confusing while the applicants are putting the application into Cybergrants, but we only require 2 letters of support for the whole proposal, so they're not separate from the letters of support we've asked for earlier. They're just 2 letters of support that counts in this category. So the work program, we're looking for how they work with the coordinated entry system, and we will be using the coordinated entry system for the FIT program. So the families will be assessed through the coordinated entry system and referred to these providers through CES. We want to know how they receive and retain clients, the estimated number of clients that is feasible based on their capacity and funding plan. And then additionally, we want to talk about their pursuit of funding, the strategy for receiving supplemental funds, and will these funds enhance program services? We want their additional funds to go to providing additional services, not to just making ends meet with the services they already offer to provide through our funding. Next slide, please. Some reviewer tips. Do you want to do it, or is it better if I do it?
I can do it, just because I've reviewed so many.
Yeah, I'm a newbie at this.
Yeah, so as Julia said, you can either review your evaluations online if you hate paper, and that's perfectly fine, or you can actually download your applications to review in PDF or Word. I've never really downloaded it in Word, I've always downloaded it in PDF. And I'm old school, so I do print them out. And I'm going to give you a little tip of how I cheat. I go into Cybergrants and copy and paste the scale, the scoring, what do you call it? Rubric. And paste it into WordPerfect or Word. And I don't WordPerfect, right? I'm showing my age. Into Word, and use a 1-page sort of notes to write down what scores I'm going to give every application, and write my notes, and then I go back into Cybergrants and enter those. And that is 2 benefits. One, I'm not going up and down the screen or writing notes in maybe a 30-page document. I'm writing it all on 1 page. And the second thing is, if and when Cybergrants loses your evaluation, you have some record of what you did or what you entered. And that's how I do it. So I don't even I use only the evaluation tool only as a guidance. I only print or use one of those when I go through it. And I like to tell people the first one that you review is the hardest one, because you're getting acclimated to the performance measures, you're looking for specific things, you're not familiar with where everything is. But after you get to the second one, you become a pro, and they become much easier and much faster to get through. So again, I sort of copy and paste the rubric into a 1-page cheat sheet and write all of my notes on that page. Going through each PDF file and taking notes in a regular notebook is a little cumbersome and time consuming, and frankly, it's probably wasting your time, and we don't want to do that. So I think that recommendation, it works for me, and it may work for a lot of other people. Another thing is, I've seen a lot of people who prefer using the evaluation tool, which is a large spreadsheet, and that's perfectly fine, but understand that a lot of words on paper, it's legal size, and it's multiple pages. But if that's how you like to do it, that's perfectly acceptable. The problem is, if you only enter your information into the evaluation tool, it doesn't count, and you have to double work and put it into Cybergrants as well. And then my favorite tip is, don't forget to hit record input when you are done. You can keep saving until the deadline, but you have to actually record the input to get them into the system. And my also all-time tip is that probably as a procrastinator, I never really do, is start early. You only have 4 proposals to review, so it's not as difficult for those that, you know, have reviewed like 12 at a time. But the earlier you start, the earlier you'll realize that you have questions, and the earlier you'll have our availability to answer those questions. Okay?
Last slide, please. So just to go over the timeline, the applications were due yesterday, and we hope to have all the proposals signed tomorrow. It might not get through the computer process, but I would think you definitely have them by the 28th.
Oh, yeah.
But hopefully tomorrow, and we ask that you have your reviews submitted by the 4th. And we ask that you have your reviews submitted to us by the 4th. So thank you all for joining
There I am.
and reviewing.
Call me. If you have problems.
If you have any questions, you can go ahead and type them into the chat box now.
And I do want to say, like, if you have a question about the proposal or what we're asking you to review, you can call me. And then if you have issues like technical issues in Cybergrants, then I would call Julia.
Yeah, don't call me if you have questions about the content.
So, I mean, you can, and you can discuss it with her, but I don't know that you'll get.
You really want to talk.
It won't be efficient.
To Carrie or Adriana for things about actual homelessness.
Susan may want to ask a question.
Okay. We're going to try and get you able to talk, Susan. Hold on just a second.
Susan, if you can unmute yourself.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I think I'm good. Hi guys, thank you. I just want to make sure you guys have my correct email address. Did you see that?
I made a note to change that, but I haven't done it yet.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to get the information. I want to be able to have it. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
Thank you guys all for reviewing. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your help.